virtual retreat for spiritual seekers. I'm your host, Marta the Medium, and today I'm truly honored to introduce you to a guest whose work bridges ancient wisdom and modern spiritual practice in the most beautiful way. George Lizos is a spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and priest of the Hellenic ethnic religion. He's the best-selling author of Be the Guru, Lightworkers Gotta Work, Protect Your Light, Secrets of Greek Mysticism, and his newest book, Ancient Manifestation Secrets. His transformative work has been featured in Goop, National Geographic, Mind Body Green, and US Weekly, and he was recently named Spiritual Writer of the Year 2024 by Kindred Spirit magazine. Today, we'll explore manifestation, ancient Greek spirituality, divine embodiment, and how reconnecting to the sacred can transform our lives. Welcome, George. It's such a joy to have you here.
Hi, Marta. Thank you so much for the lovely introduction, and it's wonderful to be here with you.
Thank you. Before we dive into all the incredible teachings you share, I would love to begin with your personal story. Every healer and teacher has a story. Could you share with us what brought you to this path of spirituality, healing, and connecting so deeply with the ancient Greek tradition? So what was that aha moment when you truly realized you had to follow this path?
Yeah. Well, for me, how we go through different phases of awakening. So the first ever awakening was when I was 15 years old. And at the time I was in a two-year period of essentially trying to change myself. Because as a teenager, I realized I was gay in a culture that did not accept it. And I'm like, I cannot be myself. So I tried for 2 years to change who I was born to be. And that got me into a really dark place where for 2 years I would monitor the way I looked, the way I thought, the way I talked and acted, trying essentially to turn me straight. And when I couldn't change who I was born to be, I called myself a human abomination and decided to end my life. And it was in that moment, the darkest moment before I did it, that I had this epiphany. And I'm like, you know what? I do have a choice. I can learn to love and accept me exactly as I am and find a new path. And that new path wasn't Christianity for me because I was deep into the Christian path at the time. And that was partly why I felt so suppressed. So I decided to search for new paths. And I started this journey of exploration. And years later, it led me to different spiritual paths, to developing my psychic abilities, to working with chakras and doing energy work, and eventually got me back to the tradition of my ancestors, the Hellenic ethnic religion, the religion of the ancient Greeks that I've trained in 2017 with the with the official group in Athens to become a priest to the religion. And now my focus has to do with doing the energy work and combining ancient practices with modern practices to help lightworkers, spiritual teachers to create change, powerful change in their energy field that eventually lets them create change in the world.
Thank you. And would you be able to expand a little bit more? I know it's probably your least and most common question asked and the least favorite one, but if we can debunk, for many people when they hear about the Greek gods and goddesses, they immediately think of mythology, old stories, legend, but your practice and what you teach is something so much deeper, a living spiritual path. So could you share with us what Hellenic polytheism or the Hellenic ethnic religion really is, and how does your work with the gods and goddesses differ from just studying mythology?
Yeah, of course. So mythology and theology are two different things. Let's start there. Mythology draws from theology, but it's not the other way around. Theology just exists. It's the study of the gods and goddesses and how the universe came to be. Sadly, as a result of Christianity, we've been indoctrinated to think of the Greek gods and goddesses as just myths, but they're not just that. Myths were created by deeply spiritual people, and they hold allegories. They hold important spiritual meanings that when deciphered, we can know them. But truly, the gods and goddesses of ancient Greeks, and also like all the gods and goddesses of the different pagan religions around the world, they are embodiments, representations of universal laws. So, for example, when you think of Aphrodite, she is the form of form. In Cyprus, where I'm from, she was honored as Aphrodite Morpho. Morpho comes from the word morphi, which means form. So she gives form to things. And therefore, she is the law of form. She creates life through her energy. Now, she doesn't just preside over that. She's not just an archetype or a symbol of that. She is that universal law that was portrayed in that way by the ancients so they could work with the law in a more palpable way. So the Greek gods and goddesses are universal laws, basically, that we can all work with them. Like, people ask me, oh, are they still real? I mean, it's like you're asking me, is the law of gravity still real? I mean, yes, because if I jump, I'm going to fall down, not upwards. So in the same way that the law of gravity is real, the gods and goddesses are real.
Thank you. And since you've already touched upon laws, could you talk about your book, Ancient Manifestation Secrets? Because you offer a profound approach to manifestation, one that really moves beyond simply thinking positively. So if you could share how your manifestation method differs from traditional law of attraction teaching
Yes.
and perhaps guide us. And I'm curious because I know you could perhaps make a connection to. I'm fascinated basically by the ways different cultures understand our connection to the earth and cosmos. So could you share with us how the ancient Greeks viewed our relationship with the universe, the earth, and divine forces, and how it's all tied to
Of
manifestation?
course. So, because for years I walked the New Age path and I studied different things, and then eventually I transitioned into Hellenic polytheism, the Hellenic ethnic religion. So, I started viewing New Age practices and theories from the ancient Greek perspective. So, the time for manifestation came and the law of attraction. I'm like, okay, did the ancient Greeks actually teach about that? And my research showed that yes, the ancient Greeks talked about manifestation in many different sources. When you think about the Orphic hymns, at the end of the Orphic hymns, which are ancient hymns to the Greek gods and goddesses, at the end there is like an affirmative affirmation, essentially manifesting something. There is gratitude. They say like, thank you for the protection that you offer me. So immediately we see how we use affirmations in the New Age community, for example, to manifest. And then you have the Greek magical papyri, which is a selection of spells from later antiquity, combining ancient Greek and Egyptian and some Jewish spells as well, and they're all together, and we can see how they use spells to manifest prosperity and love, etc. Everything we do these days. So I always say that New Age is actually very, 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 very old age. So, and that's a truth with manifestation as well. Now, what I've done in Ancient Manifestation Secrets is I teach about Hermeticism. Hermeticism is a philosophical school from late antiquity that combines the ancient Greek and the ancient Egyptian teachings about the creation and the universal laws of creation. Specifically, the Hermetics talked about the 7 laws of creation that many people are familiar with from the book The Kybalion that summarizes Hermetic teachings. Specifically, these are the law of mentalism, the law of correspondence, the law of vibration, the law of polarity, the law of rhythm, the law of cause and effect, and the law of gender. And by working with these laws, which are ancient laws, essentially, ancient teachings about the laws, we can manifest from a more authentic perspective. Specifically, I teach that negative thoughts and beliefs and emotions don't really go against manifestation. We have to include them in our manifestation process because it can help us transmute things so we can manifest faster. I teach that the law of attraction is not the most powerful law in the universe. No law in the universe is most powerful than any other laws. They work together. And I also teach about we're not able to manifest every single desire we want. And we shouldn't want to manifest every single desire we want because some desires are coming from our ego. We don't want to manifest those desires. We want to manifest the desires that are aligned to our life purpose, to our authentic self. So it's about aligning from a soul perspective, not an ego perspective.
So do you feel that if manifestation feels blocked or stuck, it is because we are operating through ego as opposed to our soul?
Yeah, 100%. So the law of attraction, which to the ancient Hermetics, it was the law of vibration, same kind of thing, essentially teaches that your vibration is a match. So your vibration attracts similar vibrational things. So if we want to manifest a Ferrari, for example, we embody the vibrational frequency of having a Ferrari, and by the law of vibration/attraction, we attract that into our life. However, we also have the law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect teaches that there are many causes leading to the creation of an effect and therefore the manifestation of a desire. So one of these causes is our vibrational frequency. We also have karmic contracts, pre-birth plans, relationship contracts, collective manifestation. We have our life purpose, our soul realm purpose, our collective purpose. We have so many other causes that contribute to manifestation that we cannot be aware of fully from a human perspective because they are created at a soul level. So what do we do then? And then people like try all the different manifestation practices. They don't work, and they're like, "Oh, I'm really good. I'm really bad at manifestation." I'm like, "No, you're not bad at manifestation. There may be another reason involved here." Like this book I wrote in 2021, and it only came out in 2025. Like I could have thought, "Oh, I'm not good at manifesting this," but I knew there was divine timing in place, and I knew that eventually, and now I can see in retrospect what happened. I wrote this book. My publisher then told me, "It's too advanced, people are not ready for it. Can you write a book about the Greek gods and goddesses?" I'm like, "Sure." So I wrote Secrets of Greek Mysticism while this book was already written. Okay, I write that book, Secrets of Greek Mysticism, gets published, and that was the perfect book to come first to introduce people to the Greek gods and goddesses and the ancient Greek spirituality before I talk about ancient manifestation secrets. That is a more advanced book and more specific to that. So it was all divine timing, but I wouldn't have been aware of that if I didn't know that there is a law of cause and effect and other factors involved in manifestation.
Thank you. Could you walk us through how the Greek sacred year is structured and what it's based on and the cycles it follows? And perhaps if you could expand on if there are any particular months or festivals that are especially potent for setting intentions or manifesting specific types of goals.
Love that. Okay, so people are familiar with the Celtic wheel of the year that has 8 celebrations around the movement of the earth around the sun and the changing of the seasons. Now, the ancient Greeks, because they were divided into city-states, each city-state had their own festival calendar. But what the Hellenic ethnic religion, the modern polytheists, have done is we've created a unified Greek wheel of the year that we can all use. That's based on the Attic calendar, on the Athenian calendar, essentially. So this has 12 festivals all around the year. So one every single month, following the changing of the seasons according to the geographical location of the Mediterranean. Because remember that earth-based religions are earth-based. They have to do with the land they were created. So they are ethnic. That's why it's called the Hellenic ethnic religion, because it's of the ethnic Greeks, essentially. They're the Hellenes. So, by the way, this doesn't mean that other people cannot use it. Anybody can work with them because these are universal principles and laws. So anybody can work with the gods and goddesses, even if they're not Greek, for example, and they can follow the Greek wheel of the year. So it starts in January with the Theogamia, the sacred wedding of Zeus and Hera, and it ends in December with the Triesperon, which is also called as the Sun Mass. You know, Christmas? We have Sun Mass, the birth of the sun. Triesperon, we celebrate the birth of the sun, essentially. And when it comes to manifestation specifically, I would choose January as the best month to set intention, because it's a sacred wedding between the divine feminine Hera and the divine masculine Zeus, and therefore literally it's all about starting something new. So it's when the sun is born at the end of December, and the sun, that the day starts growing longer after the winter solstice, essentially. That is a perfect time to set intentions, because we start this new spiritual journey, essentially, around the earth, around the seasons. And then around May, right now that we're recording this, we're celebrating Aphrodisia and Adonia. Aphrodite, she's the law of form, and therefore she creates things. We celebrate this because we are at the kind of the midpoint of between the winter solstice and the summer solstice. So there is increasing solar energy and therefore increasing manifestation energy to create things. That's why we can see Aphrodite present most potently during May, especially, only in the Northern Hemisphere, because we can see nature blooming. So that is Aphrodite creating, giving birth. Many researchers have called Aphrodite sacred sex because she is the divine creating and giving birth to things. It's like nature having sex, essentially, and giving birth to things. So great time to manifest and really take action towards our desires. And most people wouldn't think of this time as a great time to manifest, but it would be December, which is all about letting go and releasing and resetting. It's this time of stillness before we set intentions, where we're allowing ourselves to rest, to release, to allow a new desire to be born.
Mm, Beautiful. Thank you. Could you talk a little bit about how the sacred balance between the divine feminine and divine masculine energies are expressed in the ancient Greek tradition? Because I'm really fascinated by that there's always a god and a goddess, and well, I will let you
Yeah.
speak, but I find it fascinating.
Of course. So when I first transitioned to the religion and I went for my priesthood training, I was used to New Age perspectives, and it was all about the goddess, the divine feminine. There was
Mhm.
a few years ago, there was an obsession with like the divine feminine is
Mm.
rising, the divine feminine is rising. It's all about the goddess, connect with the goddess. And I'm like, so I went into the religion wanting to connect with the goddesses. And they were like, we don't just honor the goddesses because that's imbalance. We have to honor
Mhm.
both the masculine and the feminine. So, in truth, the gods and goddesses, they don't really have gender. They're genderless. Okay. We've given them gender according to our perception of what that law is all about. And what's beautiful is that the ancient Greek gods and goddesses, they had both a male and a female aspect. Aphrodite was also honored as Aphroditus, who is the male version of Aphrodite. And here in Cyprus, he, she, because it's like genderless. They were honored specifically in Amathus, in Limassol, and there, I think there is a statue, or there's mentions of a statue of Aphroditus as this hermaphrodite statue and figure with both breasts and a phallus, so balancing the two. And then we have Zeus also being celebrated as Dione. In Greek, Zeus is Dias, and therefore the feminine version is Dione. In English, you would define it as Dione. Okay, so essentially we have female and male aspects of the Greek gods, but at the same time, we have every single month we celebrate both a god and a goddess to celebrate both the divine feminine and the divine masculine. Why? And I'm going to bring the law of gender into this answer. The law of gender says that gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. If you look at the way atoms are created, we have a negative ion, feminine, and a positive ion, masculine, coming together to create an atom. Same thing with in life. To create anything, we need both masculine and feminine energy. We need structure, the structure and forward taking, action taking of the masculine energy, and also the receptivity and trusting our intuition and spontaneity that the divine feminine brings into the equation. Yes, it's important to honor the divine feminine because it has been suppressed for thousands of years, and there needs to be some balancing, some rebalancing.
Mhm.
But also, let's not forget the divine masculine. I believe that for the divine feminine to truly rise, the divine masculine needs to rise as well.
Mhm. Thank you so much. That's beautiful. I would love for you to talk, if you'd like to, about the altars. But before that, I truly believe it's so important to touch upon understanding that the gods and goddesses are not separate from us. They're just expressions of the universe itself. Are you able to explain this perspective and how recognizing that the gods are the universe, like would you, and they're like living parts of
Yes,
ourselves.
yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
So, in my book, Secrets of Greek Mysticism, I talk about creating altars and doing rituals like a new moon ritual, a full moon ritual, the festival ritual of the month. And then while I was writing the book, I was like so busy with like drama school and rehearsing for Mamma Mia, the musical, and then trying to finish the book. And I didn't have time to do 3 rituals every month. And I was writing the epilogue of the book, and I found myself feeling like an imposter. Like, who am I to tell people to do 3 rituals every month when I haven't done one in like months? And then in my frustration, I was going through my notes from my priesthood training, and I saw something that really hit home. And that was a note from my teacher who said that you don't really need to search to find the gods. You're already swimming in the ocean of the gods.
Mm.
And that's when I realized that the gods are here We are all swimming in the ocean of the gods. We just have to turn within and realize that. Yes, we can do rituals to deepen that connection, but we are already connected to the gods and goddesses. And you can see this in the practice of the religion from the ancient times until now. For example, in like Abrahamic religions, Christianity, for example, we pray by being humble and being like this and looking down, because it's the idea that the God is like all powerful and controlling, and we have to like protect ourselves and beg for forgiveness, for example. The ancient Greeks, we pray with our hands extended up to the sky because we recognize that the gods are within us and we are with the gods. So we're honoring the gods. We're seeing ourselves as part of the gods. And if you want to think about it from a more woo-woo perspective, which we all love, so there are different philosophical schools in ancient Greeks. The religion had to do with the moment of birth until the moment of death. Everything that happened before birth and after death was the realm of the philosophical schools. Each philosophical school believed different things. The Stoics, for example, did not believe in reincarnation. The Platonists and the Orphics and the Pythagoreans, they believed in reincarnation. I'm an Orphic, so I do believe in reincarnation and the journey of ascension of the soul from in between, from like through lifetimes. So according to the Orphics, we all start incarnating as plants, and then we evolve into being animals, and then we ascend into being humans, and then we ascend into being heroes, and then we ascend into being daemons, which are like angels, for example, and then we ascend into being minor gods and goddesses, and then eventually we ascend into being gods and goddesses ourselves. So it's the idea that we eventually will evolve past this physical reincarnation cycle and enter the realm of the gods as gods ourselves.
Thank you. And could you now talk about the role of an altar in Greek spiritual practice, but also like for people to know that they can also create their own altars, how they can apply that?
Yes. Now, we don't really have a lot of details about how altars were created in the ancient times. We have like the shape, for example, of the altar. We knew it was like rectangular, and we have like mentions of them. So really, when creating an altar, it's important to make it yours. The way that I do it and that I teach it is, first of all, we need to realize that an altar is a touch point between the profane world we live in and the sacred world of the gods. It's like a bridge. It's a place that helps us open ourselves up to source, to spirit, to whatever's out there. So it's basically a simple corner of a desk or a little table, for example, that you decide that's going to be my access point, my bridge to the gods and goddesses. And then it's a matter of decorating it in a way that helps you feel connected with the gods. Important elements to have there is a candle, some source of fire, because it brings light, and that's the hearth. Every single home, every single city, the entire city states, they had a central hearth dedicated to goddess Hestia, and Hestia means the hearth, which is like the soul, the heart of the house or the city, for example, or the temple. And that's why we don't really have a lot of temples to Hestia, because she was present in every single temple of any god. There was a central hearth dedicated to Hestia. So it's important to have a central candle there or source of light. And then you can bring crystals. You can bring little statues. Like, for example, I have my statue of Hermes over here. You can have flowers, and of course, if you want to do it the ancient Greek way, offerings and libations. So when we do our rituals, we offer offerings of grains and flowers to the gods, and libations of red wine or water or honey with milk, depending on the god or goddess. They get different libations, and you can find it, actually, if you want to get really specific, in the Orphic hymns. You can find what kind of offerings, incenses, for example, and libations relate to each god. And in my book, Secrets of Greek Mysticism, I have references to the different types of offering that you can give to each god. But you don't have to get that specific. You could, if you wanted to deepen that connection with specific gods. But the most important thing is to make it yours, make it special, make it your own sacred time of connecting with the divine.
Thank you. Another aspect of your work that resonates so deeply is the idea of embodiment, not just connecting with divine energies, but living them through our bodies, emotions, and actions. Could you share what it means to truly embody the gods and goddesses, and how perhaps someone just starting could, well, what would be the one simple practice to begin embodying divine energy daily?
The simplest practice I have is using the affirmation I am with the name of the god. Now, when I wrote this in Secrets of Greek Mysticism, and really traditionalists like Hellenic polytheists, they were really against that. Oh my God, how can you say I am Apollo or I am Zeus? I mean, why not? If you realize that the gods and goddesses are universal laws and we are part of them, we're all swimming in the ocean of the gods, why not affirm I am Aphrodite? So I like affirming I am in the name of the god to bring and activate the gods or goddesses energy within me immediately. Another simple practice is simply, and you can do this right now, place your dominant hand, the one you write with, on your heart, close your eyes, take a deep breath in, and say mentally, wake up. And the idea, the intention of saying wake up is to wake up your inner divinity, to wake up the god or goddess within, to wake up your connection with the divine, because your heart is a doorway of the soul, and therefore where the gods exist as well, because we're all interconnected. So that is the simplest way to start embodying the gods and goddesses. But of course, through the virtues, and in Secrets of Greek Mysticism, I talk about the virtues relating to each god, because the ancient Greek religion had to do with creating virtual human beings. And there were different virtues that people lived by. For example, courage, the virtue of courage that belongs to Ares. Ares is known in mythology as the god of war. He's really the god of bravery and courage. So what does bravery means? To like follow your purpose, to stand for what's right. So when we work with the virtues of each god, we can embody and we can live according to each god's energy, essentially. This month, for example, in May, we're celebrating Aphrodite, and her two virtues are friendship and generosity. So how can I be more generous this month? How can I be more friendly to people and to everyone, including myself? By doing that, I embody the virtues of Aphrodite, and therefore I embody Aphrodite.
Thank you. And finally, what's the final message that you would like to leave the viewers with?
Final message is, it sounds complicated, but you don't have to make it complicated. Spirituality is actually really easy. Connecting with who you really are is easy. Yes, we have our bells and whistles and they're fun, but you don't really need them. And that comes from someone who teaches like the bells and whistles. And I love my bells and whistles and my different tools. But something I've taught throughout everything that I teach, like my psychic training as well, is that we don't really need tools to give psychic readings. They're helpful and they're fun, and I use them. Here's my oracle card that I picked for the day, for example. I have my pendulum next to me at all times because I enjoy using it, and it's good to have some support. But really, our body is our most powerful divination tool. Our body is the channel of divine guidance. Our body is the channel of manifesting, of clearing our energy. We can use our body and our energy field for anything. We don't need any of the tools. We don't need to work with the gods and goddesses. We can, if we want to feel good, and if we want to deepen that connection and to amplify that connection, because certainly we can get more specific when we connect with gods and goddesses. But let's make it simple. Let's wake up our inner divinity and then see what we're inspired to do next.
Thank you. And before we close, George, could you let our beautiful community know how they can dive deeper into your work, where they can find you?
Of course. Well, you can get, if you're interested in ancient Greek practices and manifestation, you can check out my latest two books, Ancient Manifestation Secrets and Secrets of Greek Mysticism. Join my community, the Energy Work membership, where we do the energy work to upgrade our soul, and we use different energetic practices to like deepen our connection with the gods and the universe and ourselves. And of course, Find me on Instagram, where I live, at George Lizos, and my website, georgelizos.com.
George, thank you from the depths of my heart for sharing your wisdom, your journey, and the sacred knowledge with us. And to all of you, beautiful souls, thank you for joining us for How to Be a Psychic Medium. And remember, the universe lives within you, and so do the gods. And may you walk forward with grace, strength, and divine love.
Thank you,
Thank
Marta.
you. Thank you so much. Goodbye. Thank you.